Okay, here we are again, Miraculous Maestros, conversations in the deep field. So today we're tackling effortless abundance. And earlier I did a video on it for one of the groups, and I thought we could call it magical abundance, but for some reason, effortless just zings a bit more for me than magical at the moment, as if we're moving to another level of something, and I think that accurately describes it. So we're all gonna throw in our our views on this and maybe explore some as well, which would be fabulous. And what I'd ask you to do is when you first talk, to just introduce yourself and say where you're from. Okay. Okay, so I'll just say, first of all, that when I did the video, one of the things that we discovered this week in our Miraculous Maestros was that what we call the quantum field, where possibilities and genius and ideas and I think that would be my new term for what I would have called consciousness before, but this feels more zingin' poppin' kind of thing, that it had actually merged with the earth and us. So where before, where we were working to create abundance in consciousness, I remember doing it about 5-10 years ago. It was like calling it, because it was there and I was here, and that kind of thing. And now it's so effortless. It's kind of like, oh, I just look over to my diary and think, oh, I would love to do more coaching calls. Boom. And they come straight in. It's really quite amazing. It's like my life has become so leisurely, and there's no effort in running a business anymore for me. I just enjoy myself. The more joy I have, the more fun I have, the more it all works somehow. It's really quite amazing. It's more than a paradigm shift. It's like a big quantum leap into a whole other level of relationship with an abundant universe. I think that's my quickie view on it. So I'd love to hear from the rest of you and anything you want to add about that.
I'll jump in. My name is Eliza Bloom Robinson. I am in Arkansas in the US, and I am having so much fun with this. It's more than idea, but like you said, it's like a whole new relationship. But when the word effortless abundance came to us a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, whenever it was like, for me, it went because I also have it been like, it's right there. So draw it, pull it, magnetize it, radiate, it's like, boom. And then it opened up this whole new dimension of possibility. And from effortless abundance, now I'm also using the term effortless attraction, which is kind of a little bit weird because attraction, not in the old sense, but in a new sense. But it is as if we have merged. It is as if it truly is, even though we've been saying it for decades, it's right there. Now it's right there. And I can feel myself learning to be in effortless abundance. For me, that means I can pop out of it and go, oh, I need to. Well, no, what if I don't? What if I just, oh yeah, it's effortless. And so there's this kind of bouncing a little bit for me, but more and more I'm landing, and it feels so embodied. Now it hasn't like totally manifested. Like I don't go, oh, I wish I had more in my diary. Boom, they're there. I'm not doing that, but it's an internal. It's like, oh, and when you just said that, I went, oh, because I'd like to fill my group with more people. That starts on Tuesday, but I've done zero about that. But I'm just going to say it now and just go, oh, effortless. I love effortless.
Yeah, exactly. And when I was doing the video this morning, I was tracking back to like decades ago when I was working in a big corporation, and the whole thing was the harder you worked, the more successful you would become. I think that is done. I think everybody's now realized that's not a workable premise anymore. You have to kind of there's a joy to it for me. Like the more joy I feel, the more in love with life I am, the more I kind of radiate that love of life in some way, the more there's this natural, as you say, attraction factor. I don't have to go think up posts and write marketing newsletters. I mean, I'll do some of that when I feel like it, but it's not done from that place of I've got to get more people. That's just, if I did that, I'm pretty sure it would turn everybody off and spin them away from me. Now I'm positive, because what's become really attractive, I find, is genuine, full of integrity, full of joy, full of new ideas. Those are the things that I think are drawing a lot of people, a kind of natural engagement, authentic engagement from people. So yeah, anybody else want to add in? Yeah, Mary.
Just wanted to follow on from Eliza, because I drop into that place every so often. Oh, I need to do this, I ought to do that, or I got to do that. And that when I get out of that and I just get into the effortless abundance, it applies to everything around me. So it's not just about finances, obviously that's necessary for life, but actually it's more for me about the joy of nature and being able to walk on the cliffs and the beaches and connect with the ocean and the birds and all the wildlife, and simply be in my garden surrounded by greenery and flowers and produce that we are picking from the garden to eat, which is beautiful. It's not in food miles, it's feet or maybe yards at the furthest reaches of our garden. So it's just that beautiful sort of abundance. And even in winter, there's stores of things that we make, and there's things you can still collect from nature to eat as well. So those sorts of things feel so beautifully abundant. I forgot to introduce myself. Sorry, I'm Mary London, and I live in Cornwall in the far southwest of the UK, a few miles inland from the coast. There's majestic cliffs and wonderful places near to me here. So yes, I'm blessed to be hugely abundant in my life in all sorts of different ways, and that connection with joy, as I think you've both said too, in my work and in my life. That's really my starting point. When I fall out of that ever so often, because I am human and we all have those moments, I just bring myself back to that place of joy and childlike wonder at the world and how amazing things are and how amazing my body is and how amazing everything is around me. And you can't help but go, wow, what an amazing life we're living.
Yeah, beautifully put. Yeah, to some degree, I suppose there's the appreciation of and the love of what you have, and I think we're not just talking about financial abundance, which is what you pointed to, Mary. We're talking about health and vitality and energy and ideas and genius flow and friends and home and just possibilities, opportunities in our lives, all of it, but as well as a kind of financial abundance in a new and different kind of way too. So yeah, thanks for that. Yep. Who else? Doriana, it looks like you. I think you're already.
Yeah, I was looking to unmute, but I'm already unmuting. So I'm Doriana Peterson from Tucson, Arizona. And I find this effortless abundance as I reach out into different groups that they're all just recognizing all this newness that's coming in. And then little bits come from here and they come from there, and they're all coming into this vortex of bringing out newness for where we're all going and where I'm going. And so it's an abundance of relationships with these different groups, with different people that are my neighbors and my friends. and how this newness is just people are bringing out joy, even though there are these things going on in the other reality that we're moving out from. We all seem to be moving into this new, I guess, effortless abundance, and things just are popping in that have to do with bringing out what our future is calling to us to participate in, and to give us ideas of what all that can be and how we can morph into these new places that we're moving into. And my thing is kind of that every cell in our body is a whole universe, and it's getting to be in relationship with those cells and letting them tell us what we need to do or what will feel right, and learning to recognize that as we have this abundance that comes from within to shape our life with health and wealth and beauty and all those other things.
Anybody else?
I'll say my thing. I'm Gudrun, and I live now in North Norway. I've been in this group around Solera nearly a year. And just by being around other beings that are on this journey of discovering the new and opening the new, that has created more effortlessness in my life, in my feelings, and the connection with other creators. And just, today I was listening to something that made me realize a big point that you were talking about, Solera, is the joy that, certain generations, and maybe through all generations, we've kind of, as children, when we're kind of exuberant, woo, we're told to lower down and lower down, don't be so blah, and all these things. And maybe we've kind of gotten into, being less joyful in life. And what I was listening to today and reflecting in me, that there's a way to be exuberant, joyful, but you can also be very content and joyful. And I think practicing that and noticing that is something that today I said, yes, that's me, because I could sense that young girl in me that kind of was very, and now, and I've sometimes done her, and then she's kind of over the top. So it's finding this softer way of being. So we are beaming the joy. And that seems to open the creation more and more. So just effortlessly, just playing. I think this is all about playing. It's not serious. And just letting go. And like you were saying, making it, not having to do so much and follow all the rules in business and blah, that there's something happening that we have kind of known and felt and always had it outside of us. And you've been teaching us more and more, it's just here and we're sensing it. So now it's exciting to start playing even more in this field. Though I wouldn't say that I'm totally in the effortlessness, but then again, there's so many new things happening. So I'll just have to hold off judging anything and just being like, watching. So it's really interesting. I was listening to a very short with Deepak Chopra, and he was way out there, but he was talking about, we're the dreamers, that everything that we call life is actually a dream. because the infiniteness doesn't have any limits, like start and a finish. So a day starts and it finishes. And he said, that's a limited dream. So, he kind of blew a lot of different things. It was utopian, but it was beautiful just to throw something like that in. Feels to me that starts me opening up more and creating more of the effortlessness. So it's just exciting being around people that are seeking this new path, a new us.
I think that one of the fundamental things for me is a sense of inner fulfillment. And I would say goals for me are kind of irrelevant. And success for me is kind of irrelevant, at least in the terms that people would define it. Do you know what I mean? Those things don't matter to me in the same way. It's more like my fulfillment is based on joy, adventure, friends, excitement, contribution, and the greater work that calls us the dreaming, as you were saying. Just to be a part of something so big is just amazing. And I would say that one of the things we tend to say a lot in this group is the universe has our back. It's a belief that we all live by, that no matter what, it's all going to turn out for us. So we don't tend to get lost in the stuff completely. Now, I think we've learned to surf the waves, and to kind of like come up ebulliently out of any troughs that might come out of it, because we're looking for a greater purpose or a greater outcome in some way, and celebrating the possibility of that as we do that journey. And I think that's made a huge difference to our ability to be naturally and effervescently abundant in our lives. I think the other thing too that just came up for me is it's a recognition of beauty and of creating beauty. And I don't mean being just beautiful. I mean in our homes, in our art, in our writings, in our ways of speaking, in our creations that we make, all of it. There's something about being in awe and wonder of the beauty in the world that comes back to you 100-fold as well. And being able to live in that space, to me, brings that kind of natural, effervescent abundance just naturally to you and floods through you in life in all aspects. That's my experience of it.
I want to just sort of segue into that or add to it, but several people have mentioned, and we're talking about that possibility. And for me, being in a realm like this group with all you all, my texting can come out, all y'all, opens me to new, well, it opens me to just even being open to possibilities. It opens me to being open to possibilities, but it is, and even I love the idea of what you were just saying, Solara, about surfing, because even if we crash, right, then the rest of us just pick us up. It's so brilliant to just be immersed in living in that possibility, because it then becomes, it's like just being, I'm not saying this very well, obviously, because it's so, again, it's embodied, but I wasn't embodied here until I started hanging out in possibility, until I started letting my mind, my limited mind, be blown. And then the limits just dropped away. And so much of my abundance comes from this work that we do every single week. Some of you do it more than once a week, but this work, this consciousness, this field that we play in consciously
So I'm Lynn I actually live in Oslo, but right now I'm at a hotel. So there might be some noises in the background because I found a better internet connection here in the foyer. And I'm sort of listening to you and trying to find a way to segue in from my perspective, because I'm sensing more flow in my everydayness, like in all the different sort of day-to-day chores. But I also see that I'm more aware of the times when I'm not in the flow. And I think that for me is the very important part, because those are the moments where I can hone in again and becoming more aware and more able to kind of find ways of picking myself up, whether it is to get a zing, but it could just as well be just to sit quiet and just sense something, or just write something, or it doesn't, but it's about being aware of where you are in the journey, so that because I'm again more and more aware of that it's not like, I always knew that it's not how many times you fall, it's how quickly do you pick yourself up again. and I think that's more true now than ever. It's like not to be stuck in the narrative that is the mental narrative that you've been taught, or you're hearing, or you're taking from everybody else, but you find some way to, maybe you might even go under it and feel the pain in it. And what I'm also finding, I had this experience yesterday with a friend that, so we could share that we both had these very, very difficult emotional experiences that we'd had because we're feeling empathy for others or whatever it is, but because we could talk about it from this place of kind of, it was just from a place of being able to be together in the space, something lifted and profound insights came out of it. And I think that is what is becoming more and more in my life. And yes, especially in for example, in the one-on-one conversations I have with you, Solera, and the ones that we have in the group, it's like we're giving ourselves space to dare to see life from many more facets, so that it becomes rich in multiple ways. I suppose I'm just repeating what other people are saying, but that's my piece of it. Yeah.
Yeah. The current consciousness on the planet, prevalently anyway, so predominantly, has very limited structures to it. And we're consciousness innovators, that's who we are. So, and you don't even realize they're limiting until you start to look elsewhere and feel different things. And then suddenly your whole thinking starts to turn upside down and open up and look differently at what we've been taught to believe how life is supposed to be and how we're supposed to operate. And I find now, like I talked last week about what I would call the infinite intelligence design system as a compass or GPS navigation tool. It's that flow, Lynn, that you were talking. The flow comes through me that keeps me on track for a greater purpose, greater contribution, whatever you want to call it. And if I start to veer off, it does. It'll nudge me back on, whether it's through signs or energy or some insights or whatever. It just, and as long as I keep on track with that flow, and it's kind of like here we go, we're going upwards, we're going further, we're going expansive, we're going, into bigger, greater, whatever, and deeper as well. It's not all just outward movement, but when we do that, when we align with that, then I think the universe, everybody I know that does this work, we are all taken care of in extraordinary, almost miraculous ways. Over and over and over again, I see it. And I would call that effortless abundance as well, because the work that we do isn't work at all. It's we love it. It's joyful, it's fun, it's exciting, you know. So who wouldn't want to do that kind of thing? And I think if I tried to do something now that was effortful for me, it wouldn't go very well. And I think it would literally spin everything away from me rather than call everything to me. So there's an important piece about aligning to that flow that you were talking about, Lynn. So yeah. Yep. Yeah, Santari.
Santari from the UK, wife of Solera, for those who didn't know. Touching on several points that various people have made, I think for me it's been very useful over the past 25 plus years to consider that I'm not a human being. By which I mean I don't live by human rules and sets of circumstances. I think it's very useful to consider that it's like what it is you think about yourself, what you consider about yourself, sometimes has inbuilt limitations. So you can't perceive, let's say, something like effortless abundance. You can't conceive what that might look like. It doesn't seem to fit into the current ways of thinking of industry and what other people might say about abundance too on Facebook and other social media. But if you take this, let's say, perspective that you're a gift of God, maybe that you are a personification of God, or some other word, some other language which would allow you to have this wide open vista. The whole of creation is at your feet and is around you, and you are immersed in it, and there is no set rules or conditions that confine you or in any way diminish your thinking or feeling about yourself. Now that is almost like, for me, a given. That's a place to work from, to live from, to think from, you know, to understand other people from. And it's very free. The word effortless then almost like doesn't seem to have a right context, because everything's effortless. Everything's natural. Everything's just so easily attainable because you consider it to be there already. Whatever you wish for is already there. You are maybe the person who sets it in motion. But at the same time, you have the spark of the genius, which says, this is how things are going to be. Solera and I were talking about this dream home in Devon that we have our eye upon. And I said to her, what if we align up every day and imagine that we're actually living in this place, as if we've already got the ownership of it, as if we're wandering through the rooms and we're delighting in the freedom it gives us being so close to the coast, and the vistas, just the open expanse, and feeling the breath of the Devon air just hitting you in the face with this freshness, and almost like you rejoice in that. Oh, that could be so easily ours. And why wouldn't it be so? So said to me, yeah, but there's this random nature about, how things have to be so. And I said, random. I wonder where that term comes from. I wonder, if God thinks in that type of way. And I was thinking, no, it's so much easier to either have that place or something similar which matches the conditions in which you now wish to live. Because if you feel the freedom of living in such a place, then you actually start to gravitate to such a place, to such a living, to such a lifestyle, to such grandness. And it's almost like it self-propels you. It moves you on. That feeling of this is how life is. This is how I want to live my life from this moment on. And then you sort of like think about other things too. Well, if I change my thinking about that, well, everything else can change. And I think it's only because you set yourself into I'm happy with where I am and content in what I'm doing and everything is rosy, etc. And then you think something else needs to be here. Something else would give me added zest for life. What could that be? And then it's like, there's an exciting, what could that be? Which sort of like sets you into another frame of mind, another journey, another exploration. Now, I think these questions, how could you improve everything if you are that type of being and you're knowing that it's all possible, everything is attainable, that actually you are the fabric of all of that, of what you call abundance, then not only is it effortless, but it just becomes so power-filling in every moment. You feel that you have been given a gift, that you are a gift, that you sort of like sense and know and understand that there was always something greater. There was always something that was more touching you on the shoulder, perhaps, to say, don't you want to go a little bit further? Don't you want to know what's possible? Don't you want to explore? Don't you want to burst all the conditions of life that surround you and have you think, oh, well, this is my life and it can't be anything else because I'm only human after all. Don't you want to aspire to go beyond that? And if you do feel that that is a calling, then you'll never settle for that thing that says, but I'm only human after all.
That was great. Yeah, I love it. If I can use the kind of house moving, which a whole bunch of us have done recently, I don't use our friend Madeline as an example of how one does this. So about 5 weeks ago, she wanted to sell 2 houses, and the beginning of the conversation was, oh, but it's like this, and the economy could fall apart, and houses, like in order to buy a house, I need to sell a house, and how can I sell 2 houses fast enough in order to be able to buy a house? And it was all, how it is from the eyes of the world. And 2 weeks later, she had both houses sold over the asking price. And a week, within the next week, she had bought the house that they wanted for a good price. And you think, wow, she would have said in the initial conversation that that was impossible. But what happened was she swirled into this place. She chose to come into it excitedly, not believing what the newspaper was saying, what how the economy was looking, or what the truths are by various. She chose to come into it and spin into it in her own excited, magical way, and everything lined up. And I think that's a good example of how you don't buy into existing reality, no matter what. You come into it with a desire to make magic happen, to see what's possible that you can do if you just come out of the box and play a bit more and dance a bit more and be more joyful and open to possibilities. And the other thing I would say about that is one other piece, which is it has to align to be right for you and for all involved. If in that example, if she was trying to do all that to push it against the grain, against what her part was in the bigger game, the bigger contribution, then it probably wouldn't have happened like that, no matter what. but when we lined up and saw, oh my God, this is so right for you. This is so right to sell the house. It's so right to move. And oh my, yes, it's the beginning of a whole new. Then it went, and everything just spun in literally 2.5 weeks, which is quite miraculous to have happen, you know. And I think, Gunny, you've had a similar experience recently with buying a place, haven't you? So, you know, it's that lining it up with yourself, with what's right for you, with what's right for others too. You can't just, it works for you and it doesn't work for everybody else. You know, it's got to align in some way for greater purpose. So yeah. Anybody want to add anything to that?
Well, I can come from, I think what the Madeline did was magical, because he aligned herself with the unicorns, and they just appeared everywhere. I think probably still dancing half and half for me, but everything that happened in this ease and flow, in this buying a house, was much more than I would have done before. So it's, for me, it's like, yes, it's possible. And to continue creating, you know, the small little steps, every little step from this point of view, you know, with having these meetings, reminding myself not to get stuck in this limited thought patterns that are so easily, just like old shoes, you slip into them and you just have to, nope, doesn't fit me anymore. I want something new. And it's possible. And instead of judging it as not good enough or whatever, I can see what I have created is my next step. That doesn't mean I have to stop there. I can continue and continue. So it's also, maybe I used to always wait. I was supposed to be perfect before I dared to even do something. And I feel now I'm letting go of that and just playing and see what wants to happen. And then you get surprised. Wow. Because that house that came to us was totally fell out of the table, just bum, bum, bum. But then 5 minutes later, nope, everything turned around, the offer, and we bought it. It's just done. And I haven't even been inside it. This is how much I trust in the universe. So now I have to continue creating that when I step into it. Because when you were talking about your house, absolutely that I've been going a little bit into my head, you know, as from a technical architect, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm just gonna poof and do what Santari was saying, just like, oh, what if it's just so magical? It might be old and all that, but it has, because the focus for me was it had to be a house that had been loved. I wanted the basis of it to be this love energy that I would continue growing on with. So that's why I think the universe just twisted and said, nope, you have to have it. And then we said, oh, our offer is out, so we're going lower. And they said, okay, we'll take your offer. So, and it just, everything, the bank, everything, but done. So it's interesting when you just release outcome, and also this, that, you know, seeing everything that's happening as happening on my behalf instead of, you know, against me. So that's also a practice, because we come from societies that are always, what I was brought up, you know, always seeing what was missing, what I hadn't done instead of what I've already done. So
yes.
I think for the next generation, we are the gods, we are the creators. So as soon as we believe it's possible, just like Santari was saying, just go in for joy and just, but you have to meet it every day or as often as possible to create the path to it, or a bridge to it, or the quantum jump into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Fantastic.
I'm excited. This is helping me a lot just to play big time with a big.
I'm excited for your new future.
am
Not
too.
just your house, but all that it envisions for
Yeah,
you know?
it's a quantum jump into a possibility that from
Yes.
where I had been, I had not foreseen it was possible. I
Yes.
was looking outside of all this, and then it just appeared, poof, and here you are. And I said to the universe, it's mine, then make it easy, like
Yeah.
you were saying. And it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. So, like, how about if we just all line up and go to that place where we all find that? And then anybody who's watching can join us and feel some of that space and the vibe and the energy and the joy of all that, and join us in just calling effortless abundance into all of our lives. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Oh, that was wonderful. As soon as I went into it, I kind of found myself in the rainforests of South America or wherever they are in the world, and the natural abundance of life in all its forms, and the way green grows, and the purity of the waters and all of that. And then I was like, we get organic foods delivered from the farm here, and the company that does it, Riverfords, they care so much about the soil that when you get the foods, they're just like, oh, oozing with goodness. And it's just delightful to be able to eat foods like that today, you know. And then as I was just being with all of that, it was like something entered me, and it was a joyful thing. It was that which makes the rainforests ebulliently, you know, full of life. It's that natural effervescence that I think wants to burst through all our lives and guide and direct us into, you know, to be the best we can be. And I mean the whole of the human race and all of life on the earth and all of that. So it was just delightful for me. It was like, ooh, kind of a. Anybody else want to share your experience of what happened? Yeah, Lynn, go for it.
I'm just, as you're talking, I'm just getting the image, and I suppose I've had it before too, that is how we are recreating our worlds. It's that what we're being called for right now is exactly that. We have to dream our reality into newness, and and let go of whatever we think we know, because whenever we think we know, it must have been in the past. And I know it's, even for me, it's hard sometimes to let go of what I thought I know, but I'm just saying that there is no other way forward. It's like we're kind of dreaming a new reality into existence together in this way.
Yes. And one of the things I think that we in this group in Miraculous Maestros are doing is living a new template of possibility for life. And that includes effortless abundance. in all its aspects and forms as well, because, you know, there's a lot that needs improving in the world. And to try and go and fix it, or to try and go and protest against it, or I don't think that's not our route. Might be some people's route, but it's not our route. Our route is creation and joyful creation. And so when we live it and then we share it in forms like this, then I think other people have the opportunity to be able to imprint that new possibility of life onto their own lives as well, more easily, which I think is a wonderful thing to be able to do. So yeah. Anybody else want to share yours? Yeah, Mary.
No, I was just trying to think how to put it into words, but it sort of moves on from what you've said and what Lynn said. I just got this feeling when we lined up that I was just in this beautiful flow. I was part of it, I was the source of it, and I was the receiver of it all at the same time. And it was just this beautiful weave and magical dance of colors and light and possibilities. So I couldn't really see what the flow was or where it was taking me or any of that. It was just, this was just so beautiful, this moment. And then the next moment is the next moment, but that's now, because we're always in the present. So it's that one of those paradoxical images that you can't really put into words, but it just felt that being in that place opens up those possibilities for the whole world, for everyone. And it's, as you say, the more that we do it, and the more of us do it in that way, the energy flows then reach more and more people, and everybody knows that in their heart, their soul, wherever they are in their true self. But often it's buried under all the stuff that the world is throwing at people, and when we're fortunate enough to be able to learn ways of stepping out of that for a shorter or longer time, whatever that is, then we can be with it and just allow that effortlessly to flow and flow to everybody who's ready to receive it.
So I think it's important to charge up our effervescence. And I see those little photons that are always jumping around up in the sky. And that's what is in the field, in the whole quantum field, that is the information particles that are creating everything. And so I think that getting into that effervescent mode helps us to connect with those, to create those things that are coming through our divine.
And so some people would go, well, how do you get there when you're low, right? And we all had this past weekend, we all had, like, for Centauri and I, for me, I hardly got up off the couch. It was a weird weekend, but it was a quiet time with not a lot of energy. And I couldn't force myself to get higher, bigger, great, more vibration in me. But I think one of the things we've learned is that in this greater movement that's going on for us all, to ride it. So when we need to ride it, we judge it less. We have an ease with it. We rest into it when we can't take ourselves there. And I think that's an important piece to say to anybody who's still exploring how they might get to this, is that you ride it, but you do all the right things to make sure that your vibration can go there, that you can, be healthy and be vibrant and help, all of those kinds of things, I think, make a huge difference for it. But it is vibrational, and you can do simple exercise that just take you into connection with the vibrant universe. Vibrant life also makes such a difference. In walking in nature, as Mary was talking about, is another one that just rejuvenates you completely and opens you up to that space. So if people are looking for how do you get there, those are some of the simple ways of it as well. So yeah. Okay, yes, Sundari.
Just add a few sentences to what I've said before. I would say that I exist in a place which is almost like untouched by all, let's say, external reality. By which I mean what you might see on the news, wars, famines, people suffering, etc. Not to say that I don't understand all of that that is going on, but that is not my life. I'm here for a different purpose. And for that purpose, if you like to put it in words, is to spread the godness. And what that means, to define that, is to be open to the greatest possibility of being the pinnacle of myself in presence, in life, that would have everything be blissful and beautiful and bountiful and so many other things, that you would put the adjectives to and say, I would want that type of life. So I'd say, I'm here for that. I'm here for that life. I'm here for generating that life and creating that life and experiencing that life and knowing that that life really is me. And so therefore, I'm not interacting with the world that other people interact with and say that that is reality. That is not my reality. That is not the life that I wish to live and be part of. And that is not for me the place for me to play in the greatest of places. I say I exist in a different place. And you might call it the quantum field, or you might call it something else. The playing fields of greatness and of godness. If I reflect on myself, I am beautiful. I am beauty personified. I am grace personified. I epitomize something magnificent. I know that. I don't have to believe it. I just know it. Know it as a true, absolutely fundamental part of my existence here. And if I have anything to share or to give to other people, it is really to say that that's the place where we meet together. It is a place of absolute joy. It is an eternal, an infinite, an immortal place. It's a place that you don't have to die to in order to get to. It's almost like you choose to have that to be the experience in which you will now live the rest of your life in this world. And almost like as soon as you say that, that is what you now choose and how you wish yourself now to be from this moment on, then something energetically changes in the fabric of your reality of life. It changes you. It changes your thoughts about you. And it changes everything about you so that you aspire to something which is much more than you've ever been shown or given before, because that is what wants to be birthed in you. So if you've ever thought of a second coming, you are the birthing of that second coming in yourself. And from that place, everything is amazing and miraculous and magical.
Yes, beautifully said. And I think because we are embodying that, and I think we all are embodying that in whatever ways is ours, we make it possible that everyone, everything, every living life form can embody the same or some version thereof. That, I mean, we're all unique, so but but that we make a possibility available by living it, by embodying it. And that includes everything you just said, which was beautiful: effortless abundance, joyful life. And I wish that for everyone on the planet, that everyone on the planet has that, however we get there. And we're at work on that through consciousness innovation, through working with the earth and nature to be more miraculous, from the oceans and all of it, whatever our ways of accessing that. It is that we are in the game of the dreaming of a new reality, a new possibility for life on planet Earth. And I don't think there's anything quite as great as that in the universe at the moment. So there you go. Okay, anything for anybody to wrap up before we go? No? Okay, well, thanks to all those who are watching us. It's been wonderful. We love having these conversations. We've done a bunch of them now on all different topics. We'll continue to do them on different topics. And may everyone who's watching and everyone in the world have effortlessly abundant lifestyles. Thanks, everybody.